I've got one flame to burn, one race that I can say I ran.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the 21047.com podcast. My name is Keith Cartwright. I am the host of this show, and I'm glad to have you along listening in today, wherever it is that you're listening, whenever it is that you might be listening in. I just thank you for taking time out of your day to be a part of this show. This episode today is sponsored by my friend Robin Larkin. Robin is my longest lasting Patreon supporter of this show. Patreon is a platform where listeners, fans, friends, family can financially partner with me to help grow this mission, expand it, hopefully reach more and more people. And so Robin was one of the first to jump on board when that opportunity came open. And so I thank her for doing that. If you're interested in learning more about Patreon and what exactly goes along with being a Patreon supporter, you get some perks that come your way for helping me out. You can go to the 21047.com podcast website, TWOTIM47.com, click on the Support Me tab at the top, and then scroll down and you can get some more information on the different ways that you can support this mission, including Patreon. There'll be a link at the bottom that will take you to the Patreon page, and you can learn all about the different opportunities that you can have there. So thank you, Robin. Robin is actually up in Baltimore this weekend running the Baltimore Marathon on Saturday. And Robin, like me, tries to put some purpose in her running, runs for some great causes. This weekend, she's actually up there running for a 10-year-old friend's son, Alex. Alex is battling cancer. He's sadly currently in chemo and radiation, and his story just breaks my heart. I have 8 and 10-year-old boys myself, so I know how hard it must be for parents to watch a child taking on and going through a challenge like that. I can't imagine what it's like for little Alex, so I'm just really glad that my friend Robin is up there this weekend running the Baltimore Marathon to try to just bring some strength, bring some hope Alex's way and his family's way. Robin is also very active in running for the 22 Too Many organization. It's the organization that brings light to this reality that our veterans come back, and 22 of them every day come back from service and end up taking their own lives as a result of the battles they're having with memories, PTSD, demons that are haunting them from their service time in the military, and so they ultimately end up taking their life. So this weekend, Robin is running for Sergeant Deanna Orellana Martorella. I hope I didn't butcher that name too bad, because Sergeant Deanna really deserves her memory honored, like Robin I know will do very well in Baltimore this weekend, along with just bringing light to the sad reality that our veterans who survive the battlefields come back here and ultimately lose the battle of the mental challenges, the mental illnesses that they're battling, largely in part because we have a society that just does not have the resources available. We also don't equate mental illnesses the same way that we do to physical illnesses, so we don't take them often as seriously as we need to. So hopefully with Robin's efforts, Robin's running, bringing to light the story of Sergeant Deanna Martorella, hopefully more folks will come to understand the plight that is facing our military folks returning home, also come to understand the importance of getting involved in and erasing the stigma that goes around with our mental illness challenges, and just come full bear to try to bring resources to these folks and all folks really that are battling mental illnesses, so that we can save some of these 22 lives every day that are being lost to suicide amongst our veterans who have served us so well, and hopefully we can get better at serving them better. So thank you, Robin, again for supporting me, for sponsoring this episode, and pouring your heart and your love out this weekend in Baltimore for Alex and Sergeant Deanna Orellana Martorella. It's kind of fitting, really, that Robin is running up there for 22 Too Many this weekend and sponsoring this episode, because today I'm going to share an interview with you with a wonderful young woman, a 10-year active Marine veteran just now transitioning into the reserve life. So I had the chance this weekend to interview Maggie Seymour. Maggie is running from San Diego, California to Virginia Beach, Virginia, clear across the country, across the United States, running 30 miles per day, 100 days total, one long run. And Maggie is doing this to raise awareness for the communities that supported her while she was an active Marine. She got 3 communities that I'll let you listen to her talk about in our interview. I read this story and it just caught my eye. Really, at first, just the whole physical feat of it all. I've run a marathon myself. I ran 26.2 miles last year at the Richmond Marathon. I got done and wondered if I'd ever be able to walk again, let alone even consider running another race in my life. And so when I think about that experience and then think over here on the other side, here's Maggie Seymour running 30 miles every day, and then getting up day after day and doing the same thing. She's had some rest days in there, but for the most part, it's 30 miles a day, eat, sleep, get up, do the same thing. Just the whole physical feat of that blows my mind, not to even begin to consider then the mental aspect of that, being out there on the road by yourself, just running along these back road highways of America by yourself, and then even just contemplating that reality that, oh my goodness, I have to do this again tomorrow. The mental strength of that is way beyond anything that I can imagine at this point. So I reached out to Maggie. I just really had to tap into this story and try to understand exactly what she's doing, how she's doing it, why she's doing it. She was gracious enough to agree to get on the phone and have this conversation with me. And so without any further ado, I'm going to let you listen to that conversation she and I had earlier this week. All my friends up there at the Marine Corps Marathon this weekend, you can see Maggie. She's actually up there running this. This was her first race, so she's going back to do it again. I believe she said, and you'll hear it in the interview, I believe this is her 7th time doing this race, and she will actually be pushing a special needs athlete, Bella. So if you're up there this weekend at the Marine Corps, go ahead and look for Maggie Seymour. Until then, though, listen into our conversation. Here's Maggie. All right. Well, I want to welcome Maggie Seymour to the 21047.com podcast. So welcome, Maggie.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. So we're catching Maggie on a rest day. Maggie is currently on a mission, run, free run. She calls it One Marine, coast to coast, 100 days. So what that means is in 100 days, she's running across this country from one coast to the other. Before I dig into that too far, let me ask you where, clearly you have an interest in running. Where did your interest in running start? When did you start running?
I believe that was 8th grade. I had played softball all my life, and our softball team in junior high was not very good. And I was self-centered, as most 12, 13-year-olds are, and decided I wanted to play a sport that I didn't have to rely on anyone else to do, which is incredibly short-sighted of me, considering this run has been nothing but support. But so I decided to go out for cross-country instead of softball, and I ran my first mile, and I hated every step of it, but that got me hooked.
And so you kept running from then?
Yeah, I took a little break in college, as college kids often do, and then got back into it when I was in Iraq, actually, with the Marine Corps. My boss was a big runner, and he used to come in every day and say, "Hey, Max, let's go for a run." I'd be like, "Sir, I'm really busy, and he'd reply with, "Well, I'm your boss," so it's not really a question or a request, it's more of a command. So he got me back into it, whether I liked it or not.
There are days I need somebody like that in my life when it comes to running. So
yeah.
This running is, so it's obviously, it's fast forward, it's taken on a whole new meaning. You are about, I think, 70 days into this 100 days, give or take a few days of running across the country. Yeah. And so you're doing this for some special communities in your life. So talk to me about those communities, why they're important to you, and why did you choose running as the vehicle to sort of honor these communities and raise awareness for them?
Yeah, so the three communities are the veterans community, Gold Star families, and special needs athletes. And like I said, I got back into running when I joined the Marine Corps, and I actually just got off active duty a couple months ago. So I spent 10 years on active duty, and during that time, the military moves you around a lot and sends you overseas or across the country for a couple months. And I grew up in a really small town in Illinois where I graduated with the same people I went to kindergarten with. So leaving that small community and then being bounced all over the world was really hard for me. I was homesick a lot. And these communities, these organizations really embraced me as part of their family, and were really kind of a home base for me for the last 10 years. And they're just really great communities represented by some really great organizations. So that's how I picked those three. And as for running, I like running, obviously. To me, it's a great time to think about what's important to you, and it's a great way to maybe try to inspire or motivate others to get involved. And I think, understood or began to understand the power of running. I did a Run for the Fallen Memorial Run last year, which was 161 miles down the coast of California, and I was amazed by how much my friends and family, came out to support and either donated or, came out to run with me. And I don't know what it is about running in charity or running in communities, but there's a link there and it works. So I felt like this run across the country was kind of the best way for me to take something that I'm okay at, I'm good enough at to get across the country, I think, and try to give back to those people who gave me so much.
Yeah, that's really what my podcast has become about. I ran my first marathon last November, and when I got done, there was just something put on my heart that there's just something bigger to this running journey. And, I wasn't quite sure what it was. For me, it wasn't about running. It was sharing sort of this strength and this hope that you kind of find in a running journey, and just trying to spread that to the other side of the world, the non-running world that I think many days needs some hope and needs some strength. And so I'm grateful that you're out there promoting some wonderful communities and sharing your strength. And before I go too far, thank you so much for your service. I got 2 young kids, a lovely family. So just talking with somebody who has given me some freedoms to do the things I do with them, thank you. I'm grateful.
Well, thank you for paying your taxes.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Let me ask something, because I'm a very, very amateur runner, have run, half a dozen or so half marathons, 1 full marathon. And so the training in that, I was thinking about this today as I knew I was going to talk to you, because I'm actually going to train for my second marathon in Houston in January. And so, that training, you have progressive long runs on a weekend that'll build up to like 1 20-mile run here in 6 weeks or so. You every day, if I read this right, are getting up every day, running 30 miles, come home, eat, sleep, get back up, repeat, do it again. Am I describing that right? 30 miles a day.
Yep. Yeah, 33. I do walk quite a bit, so in all transparency, I should really probably rebill it as a run walk, but it's that monotonous and that boring, yeah.
And so what do you do again, I'm fascinated by it, because even me, so I'm out on a double-digit miles run, but even in the most monotonous, even in the most fatiguing part of that run, I always can cling to, at least when I get this done, I don't have to do it tomorrow. But you don't have that. You do not have that. So what? I can't even imagine in my mind the complete opposite. I'm in that moment and I'm thinking, oh my God, I've got to do this again tomorrow for 100 days.
Yeah, I was joking about that the other day when I was done, and it was a particularly rough day, and my support driver was like, oh, but you're done. I go, yeah, what do I get for it? And she's like, you get a cider. And I was like, yeah, and I get to wake up tomorrow and do it all over again. Add some explosive or some curse words in there.
Right.
I think the trick is you just can't someone told me before I started, run the mile you're in, run the day you're in, and that's it. Just, I can't think about, the next day or the next week, because then I think it just becomes too overwhelming and just kind of smashes you mentally. So just keep focused on that mile, and then the next and the next.
Yeah, well, that's pretty amazing. So you've come a long way. You started where, in San Diego?
Yes.
And you're now pretty close, to the Tennessee-Virginia border?
I am. I'm technically about 2 miles south of the border, and we should cross over tomorrow into Virginia.
And so you've had to see some pretty cool things along the way. I wonder if there's one or two things, just in terms of the things that you've seen, that really stick out to you as you run across the country.
Well, one of the things that sticks out the most to me is that this country is made up of small towns. I've hit maybe 5 or 6 major cities, and just I'm from a small town, and you kind of think that, there's not a lot of people out there, but the whole country is just peppered with small towns, and each town has 6 churches and a museum, which is pretty amazing. I think that the coolest thing I saw was coming out of Albuquerque, and it was on Route 66, so kind of that weird, quirky vibe. But someone had done the rumble strips, where if you drove over the rumble strips at 45 miles an hour, it's saying, I think America the Beautiful, or God Bless the USA, one of the two. But it was that tune, which I thought was just amazing. And I think I spent that whole quarter of a mile just clapping and shrieking, like, it's music. So I think that was probably the coolest thing that's probably stuck with me, for sure. But just these great little tiny, population 200, beef cattle, like all this, what you think is quintessential America, like it's true. It's still out there. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. Has there anything caught you off guard or surprised you out there that, wow, I didn't know this existed, or I didn't know things were this way?
No, I think because I grew up in that community, and if anything, it's reminded me of a lot of things maybe I've forgotten or lost about growing up in a small Midwestern town. We ran through a town the other day that had a citywide garage sale, and I thought, and my hometown has one of those, and I haven't thought about that in decades probably. And it was just amazing. You still have all these little people who come out. You still have, shops that don't take credit cards, and they take checks but no credit cards, and everyone knows each other's first names, and they stop you on the side of the road because they don't recognize your car because they know all the cars in town. And I think all that stuff was stuff that I knew at one time and maybe had forgotten about. So it's been really cool to kind of revisit that way of life, if that kind of makes sense. So.
Yeah, no, very much, because I'm sitting here thinking you're allowing me to revisit a little bit. I grew up in a small farm town in central Ohio, so that Midwest country. So as you mention all these things, it's like, yeah, that's just bringing back some wonderful memories. So I was reading your blog a little bit, and on day 13, you wrote this post titled, "What the hell am I doing?" And so I'm wondering if there have been more of those moments along the way. Did it ever settle in where you just kind of said, okay, I'm in it? Was that an early on thing, or have there been more moments along the way where you've just said, what am I doing?
Every day. It's funny because I actually am working on a blog post for this week that's pretty much the same thing. And I think going into this run, I had this idea, I was told, don't expect anything and just kind of be open to whatever comes your way. And I met a woman who did a crossing 3 years ago, and she's been kind of my de facto spirit guide. And she's, a yoga hippie, Southern California kind of person. And so she's like, just be open to any experience and, take it as it comes. And so I didn't expect much, but I definitely expected at some point for it to feel better, to kind of have that permanent runner's high, to, look forward to the days, to getting up and, actually running the full 33 miles with, minimum walk breaks. But just maybe 2 days ago, I had texted a friend and said, what am I doing out here? Like, this is, what's the lesson? What am I supposed to be learning? Is it worth it? And all those kind of doubts that you have on a 10-mile run or a marathon. Like, I have not broken through that plane. I have not, become enlightened or whatever. It's just about every day, if not every day, every week, you kind of question what you're doing out there, and you just have to kind of go back, or I have to go back to why I started and remind myself that, this is what the experience is, and enjoy it and try to make the best of it and try to find a lesson somewhere.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I would love to tell you that was an early on thing and it's been roses and beautiful views since then, but it's a challenge, but there's a little bit of beauty in that challenge, in itself. So. Yeah,
well, I'm actually more relieved to hear you talk like that, because I know you're human, because I just can't imagine that you settle into a, runner's high groove as you just run all the way across America. So you're about to come into Virginia, and I know you're taking a tour stop here next weekend and going up to run the Marine Corps Marathon, which I've got a few friends that are running, so I'm going up there to spectate that. So I can't wait to hopefully see you and meet you in person somewhere real quick along the way. But what is special about that race to you, and why the detour up to take part in that?
So the Marine Corps Marathon was my first marathon, and it's funny, I was just talking to one of my friends about this the other day, and I had signed up for it when I joined the Marine Corps, and I said, this is, I'm going to get back into running, and I'm going to train for this, and then I didn't, just kind of got ahead of me, and my friend had bet me that I couldn't do it, and he bet me a Ruth Chris steak dinner that I couldn't run a marathon, and so I said, I'm going to do it, I'm going to get the sticker, and then I'm never going to run again.
Right.
And I had every intention of doing that. So I ran it and walked it, hobbled it. But that was my very first marathon. And then fast forward a couple years later, I got involved with Team Hoyt in Virginia Beach. And that was my first full marathon pushing a rider athlete. So this year will be her name's Bella, and we will be running our 5th Marine Corps Marathon together. So that race is very special to me. It's, it's an amazing course. It's an amazing race, hands down, everything else aside. But being in the Marine Corps and starting with all your, the wounded warriors and veterans, and it is an incredible experience. And I mean, as you'll see, I'm not sure if you've been up there before, but just the whole course is lined with people out just cheering you on, and you get to finish along the memorial, and it's just an incredible race, and it means a lot to me, both for Team Hoyt and just kind of my own personal running journey. So will you be, I didn't want to miss it, so we will.
Good for you. So will you be pushing Bella then in the marathon?
I will. Yeah. Yes. So it'll be easy to spot. She's got a bright bean chair, and I'll be running with one of my best friends, Jenny. We've pushed she pushed solo last year because I was deployed, but we've pushed 3 years now, 3 years together. So this will be kind of our full team's reunion. So it'll be me and another woman will be pushing Bella. Yeah.
It's ironic. Before I chatted with you, I'd interviewed a friend of mine that I met earlier this year. She's very actively involved with Ainsley's Angels, and so she pushes a lot of special needs athletes herself. It's a very cool connection here.
Yeah, that's our, I run for both. I run for Ainsley's Angels and Team Hoyt, kind of sister organizations, and there's chapters, of both all over the country. So for this run, we actually got to gift a few running chairs to a couple chapters, one in Oklahoma City, and then one of the newest chapters in Northwest Arkansas, or in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and they brought me across the bridge, and great organizations, both of them. And they've been amazing for running and for the special needs community, for sure.
Well, good for you. What is it about running? Because I asked her the same question. What is it about running that makes it such a great sport to support other folks that either have some challenges or need some added strength in their life? It just seems, I don't know, maybe there's a lot of other communities out there that do it that I just miss it. Since I've become involved with the running community, it just seems like it is a natural fit for supporting communities, causes. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah, but I find it ironic because I always think about, selfish 12-year-old Maggie who didn't want to be part of a team, and she wanted to run on her own and excel on her own. And that's just about the complete opposite of what running really is. I think it's one of those things that almost anyone can do. I mean, toddlers can do it. So when you have, and even if you can't walk, you can, through organizations like Team Hoyt or Ainsley's Angels, you can. That's the motto is, yes, you can, and together we shall. You just pair up. It's something that it's available to anyone. You got a pair of running shoes, or some people don't even wear running shoes anymore. You just go out and get some miles. And I think running is one of those things that it's the perfect combination of kind of solitude, but also community, and there's a certain level of freedom in it. And the founders of Team Hoyt, Rick Hoyt, who's actually doing Ironman Kona this weekend, he had written in his book, he told his dad after their first race that, Dad, when I run, I feel free. I feel like I'm not in a wheelchair. I feel like I can feel what runners feel. And I think there's something just very powerful about that feeling that you get when you're running. And especially if you're one of those people that maybe, needs a teammate to help you cross the finish line, or even just needs a cheering section to help you cross the finish line, or whatever. It's just this incredibly empowering, freeing, experience, which I've never gotten anywhere else, and I'm not sure exists anywhere else. So
yeah. Well,
I think you're right. I think it's
yeah, well, what a blessing for Bella. I'm excited that she's going to get to spend those miles with you, and in the midst of a pretty special journey for you as well. So good for her. And so you'll leave. Yeah. You'll leave the Marine Corps Marathon. Now, will you only run 26 miles that day? That'll kind of be like an off day for you.
Yeah. So that day, and the way that we, my friends and my support drivers and I kind of decided to do it is that I wanted to run every step. So those miles, unfortunately won't count towards the total mileage, won't count towards the route, but, it depends on how fast Bella makes me run. I think I've gotten pretty used to kind of a run walk with lots of breaks. So if she makes me run, it might end up being the most challenging day so far. But we'll run the Marine Corps Marathon, and my dad will be down to be my support driver by then. So then we'll drive back down to the route that day, and then we'll finish up that week.
Wonderful. And so you're headed, final destination is Virginia Beach. Any special meaning behind finishing up in Virginia Beach?
Yeah, at Team Hoyt, Virginia Beach. So we are finishing up at the Wicked 10K, which was actually my very first Team Hoyt race. So it's my anniversary race, and we started in San Diego on that chapter's founding weekend. So kind of symbolic there, starting in San Diego where there's a Team Hoyt San Diego, and ending where Team Hoyt Virginia Beach is, on those specific weekends, which happens to be, I think it's 99 days exactly. But, right around 100 days was almost serendipitous and kind of perfect. So yeah, it's Virginia Beach Team Hoyt will be there, and or Team Hoyt Virginia Beach, and so it'll be really cool to end on the boardwalk and kind of end where my Team Hoyt journey started.
What a great, cool. Yeah, that is. What a great beginning and ending, and yeah, what a great journey you're on. So you kind of hinted at this a minute. I have to ask it because I just can't imagine I don't know. Like I said, when I get out and run, I do so much thinking, soul searching. It's a very spiritual thing for me. God spends a lot of time talking to me when I'm out there running. I'm just wondering if you've made any personal discoveries about yourself or just learned anything about Maggie along the way out there that you didn't already know, or do you think that's something that comes as you wrap this thing up and you reflect back on it after it's all finished?
I think both. I think hopefully I've gotten better at, I started this with a mentality of grace, gratitude, and grit. That was what was going to get me through. And I think I've always been a pretty gritty person, and I've been okay with the gratitude. I'm usually pretty thankful and appreciative of what I have, but the grace part has always been something I've struggled with. And, running, we talked about being part of a community, but you can get pretty inside your own head and pretty selfish on something like this. And so that's been something I really tried to work on just being kind to people, and sure, I've had to stop myself and say, yeah, you're, 20 miles into this day and you're hot and you're tired, but that doesn't mean that you could be, cranky to the hotel clerk or cranky to your support driver or cranky to your mom when she calls you. So I think that that's something that I've been really highlighted that I'm maybe not the strongest at, but getting better at. But I've been, pretty, I guess, pleasantly surprised with my kind of ability to just endure, like you said, the monotony of it. Kind of keep going and being grateful that I have such a huge, net of support out there across the country, literally. And that's been pretty humbling for me, which I think I've needed. So
yeah, so
sorry,
have a lot of people showed up along the way in these small towns and kind of knew what you were doing or wanted to know what you were doing as you went running through?
Yeah, and a lot of people, have given just $5, $20 in cash or whatever, and we've had some people through friends of friends. They've hosted us. We had a great Gold Star family in Canadian Texas that hosted us for a whole day and a rest day. And they took us around town. They bought us. I don't think I paid for a meal throughout all of Texas and Oklahoma, to be honest. And took us out for lunch, and we went ziplining, and they gave us a tour of their town. And people have been very, very welcoming and very interested and very kind on this whole journey. So that's been pretty amazing.
And what is this team you have with you? How many are, I know you're in the van and they kind of drive out ahead of you for 10 miles and wait on you. What kind of a support staff do you have, Maggie?
So I have a rotating driver. So throughout the whole trip, I've had at least one driver come out and support anywhere from a week at a time to a month at a time. And it's worked out, I think. I think if I had one support driver for 3 months, I don't know if we'd be friends anymore. It's a pretty tough gig to sacrifice that much time for somebody. So I'm on, I think, support driver number 5 now, 5 or 6, and she'll be with me till the end. Minus she'll take a little break, and my dad will come out and support me. So we've had one the whole time, and there's been a couple days or weeks where I've had 2 people or so.
Now I'm curious. You've mentioned talking with your mom, and so your dad's going to come meet you there. When you let them know, hey, I'm going to run across the country in 100 days. What was their reaction? Now, I guess I got to put that in the context of you're a Marine who served in Iraq. So I guess at some point they realized Maggie's not afraid to take on some stuff. But I am curious, when you told them about this idea, what a parent response was. I've got 2 young boys. Now, they're not to the point where they're going to be making decisions like that yet, but I kind of anticipate what my reaction would be if they called me and said, hey, I'm going to run from California to Virginia Beach. Just wanted to let you know I'll be in touch.
I think my mom's exact words were just about the same as when I told her I'm ever going to do anything is, okay, well, let me know. And then I always tease about my dad has he's pretty high standards, and that typical Midwestern, hard to impress father. And I always tease that he's the type of guy that I could call and say, Dad, I ran 100 miles this weekend. And he'd say, oh, that's good. I just read an article about a woman who ran 200 miles. So I think they're excited to help and excited to see me finish. But my parents had a very good philosophy that they told me a long time ago, that it doesn't really matter, what you do and what you accomplish. It's, the person that you are. So I think while they're very proud of me and they're, excited for me to do this, they are very humble, grounded people that, hey, Mags, like, this is a good thing, but, make sure that you're becoming a better person by doing it. So
you're saying they're
at the end, which will be really good.
Yeah, you're saying they're more interested in the pieces you talked about a minute ago, the grace and the gratitude.
I think so, yeah. And they're very service-minded. I'm one of 4 kids, and they always raised us to serve others and to serve the community. So I think they're proud and happy that I'm doing something that could be pretty selfish. I mean, it's a personal goal and it's a personal challenge, but I think they're happy that we're raising money and raising awareness for others too. So, but yeah, most certainly they're more concerned about the person you become rather than, whatever achievements you can check off. Yeah,
well, you can tell them, and I'll tell you that until you brought up the potential selfish side of this or the self-centered piece of it, that never crossed my mind. From the first time I read about this story, it was all about, wow, you read these things and it kind of challenges you, which is why I really love talking to folks like you. It's like, wow, somebody is really stepping out. And, I always talk with my own kids about that. It's, you can't afford to sit around and wait. You have to take a step forward. And of course, we have a strong spiritual component in our family. I just believe if you'll step forward, God will do something with that you have no idea what it will be, but it'll usually be bigger than what you started out. Now, I don't know what he can create bigger than running across the United States, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be something. So no, I don't hear any self-centered Maggie in any of this. So my hat's off to you.
Oh, I could put you in touch with a few of my support drivers.
Well, I did think about that too when you were talking about what it might strain some friendships because, and again, I'm glad I have run a marathon and run some distances because I really can imagine. And so I know the attitude I've had at the end of some of those long runs. Don't talk to me. I just can't imagine if it's day after day of, so my wife would want to be nowhere near me. So I read somewhere where you said one of your goals was to encourage others to use running as a way to engage with their communities. Why is that piece so important to you?
I mean, running has given me so much, and while I understand that I would say that I'm probably blessed on my ability to run, knock on wood, relatively injury-free, and I'm never going to win any races, and I'm not particularly fast, but I can manage to usually complete the distance. But I think that everyone can get something out of running. And maybe I'm wrong. I know some people running's not their thing. So, if it's not your thing, the big part is just to kind of get involved. But for me, I think a lot of maybe what we're missing, or maybe that's my own bias, but is people getting involved and kind of taking responsibility for the guy or gal next to them. And I think if everyone maybe just stepped outside a little bit more, like you said, just take that first step forward and meet your neighbor or meet the guy down the street or whatever, I think that our country would be a much stronger, better, happier place. And I think running is, I think I wrote in one of my blogs, running is one of those things that you can't run away from a conversation, right? So if you're running, doing a 10-miler with somebody and you guys start talking about, a tough topic or talking about maybe a tough time that one of you went through, there's nowhere to go. I guess you could speed up, but you're not running away from it. So I think running sometimes forces us to share and to talk about things and to, find some resolution that maybe you don't get on Facebook or, in the store or whatever. So I think running can be a very powerful tool to build communities and bring communities together. And I think when people join communities and when people give back to their communities, they find out that they get a lot, put in a dime and get back $1 sort of thing. And I think it just makes it a better place for everyone. And I think that if we all did that, we'd be a lot happier. That kind of makes sense in a hippy-dippy.
No, well, actually, it makes sense in a very real way with me. I shared a little bit with you. I started running in response to a local mom in our community was hit and killed by a drunk driver 3 years ago. And so one of her friends, the weekend after she passed, one of her friends reached out and said, hey, why don't we all just run for Meg this weekend? Well, it turned out to be and this was on Facebook, 100,000 people from all over the world caught wind of this story and ran for her on that Saturday. And what's remained from that is this Facebook group. It's Meg's Miles supporters. And, I've said over and over, it's this, and it's almost exclusively runners, but it's a group that invites everybody in. If you're somebody who's, like you've said, runs, walks more than you run, whatever it is, it's included everybody. And it's such a tight community that has stayed together. So there's probably about 18,000 people that are left in this group from that original weekend. But I've said over and over, I think people really are drawn to this running group because they come talk about running, but they come and ask for prayer, support, whatever to help them through some difficult things they're going through. And I've said, I think people really come to this group because they get to interact with one another in a way that they really wish they could interact with people and the rest of the world would interact with each other outside of the running community.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I've always kind of wondered that what is it about running that makes people open up and share and kind of make these really meaningful, deep connections. And I was just reading the other day, there's some science behind it that the running actually literally makes people share more with other people, which is really cool, I think. Really helpful, yeah. Yeah,
I think, I don't know what the science says, but I think running in itself, it's challenging. So you're always going to have rough days. And I think it's easier to talk to somebody that can relate to that. So whether somebody's run a marathon, whether somebody's run 30 miles a day for 100 days, you're talking with somebody who understands your struggle. And they also understand that feeling of crossing a finish line. They understand those high times. And I don't know, I think runners just quicker than other people embrace these things that we have in common, where outside of that, I don't know. And you've just run across the country, but I see outside of the running community too many people starting with what we don't have in common. Let's start the conversation with where we're not alike. Yeah. And in the running community, I think we start a lot of those conversations with where we are alike. And we really don't end up getting to the things we don't agree on, which I don't know. We could sit here and solve the world problems, I guess, and just say everybody should run.
I think that's it. I think that solution is that you pick two people of complete opposite views and send them out on running.
There we go. Can they join you for the last several hundred miles you have?
Yeah. I've run and kind of spent some time with some people that I have some pretty deep ideological disagreements with, but I have yet to have a violent outburst or argument or screaming match. And maybe it's because you're running, you don't have enough energy to get mad at somebody else. But yeah, it's been pretty incredible that you can, like you said, have that one thing in common can find you.
Yeah. Well, Maggie, I am so grateful because I know you're, really busy, and this is one rest day that I guess, will this be the last rest day you have until you go to Marine Corps?
Yeah.
And then,
this is the last rest day, so 14 more days.
Well, rest up, my friend. It is an honor, like I said, to talk with you. I am, really grateful for your service. I wish you a lot of luck. And I'm going to follow you after you do the Marine Corps because, we live here in Ashland. I'm only about an hour from Virginia Beach, so I don't know what route you'll take. But I'll be watching that last week of your route, and I'd love to come down. And especially if you get in one of those walk phases, I'd love to walk a mile with you to be a part of it.
That sounds perfect, yeah.
All right. Well, I will be, if I don't get to see you on the route, I definitely will be screaming you and Bella's name up there at the Marine Corps Marathon next weekend. Good luck up there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, Maggie. Have a great day. Rest up, my friend, and good miles ahead this weekend.
Thank you. See you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it. You have now heard somebody who has run several thousand miles across the United States. She's not quite done, but you listen to Maggie, you know she's going to finish up this run across America. Really, like I said, really anxious this weekend to go up and meet her in person, hopefully, even if briefly, even if me just shouting, "Hey, Maggie," as she runs by in the Marine Corps Marathon, pushing her buddy, Bella. What a champ Maggie is. And I was really thankful to have the chance to talk with her, to hear her story, to reflect on some of my own memories of growing up in small town America. I thought that was a really cool piece and sort of unexpected, really, when I was thinking about her running across America. I didn't expect to kind of go down memory lane of small town America, but it is cool to hear that that is kind of what she has seen out there. We hear and see the news, and we just get these pictures of masses and masses of people's big cities just all the time in conflict with one another. But, there's a far more peaceful side to us out there, a smaller, easier going side to us that is out there. And maybe we're all a little more small town than we think. And like Maggie said, probably do us all good just to step out there. Maybe if we don't go run with somebody, get out and take a walk through the neighborhood, meet the people in your neighborhood, and just reach out and see and create something different about your surroundings. So thank you, Maggie, again. Thank you all for coming and listening today. Go to my website again if you want to check out any old episodes of 21047.com, the podcast. Go to 21047.com, TWOTIM47.com. Thank you. I'm wishing a lot of luck to everybody up there running the Marine Corps Marathon this weekend and folks racing elsewhere across the country this weekend. Good luck to you on that. So get out there this week and run a little bit. If you don't run, get out there and cheer somebody on. And if you got no interest in running at all, I'm just really glad that you came and took in this podcast today. I appreciate you being a part of this 21047.com mission. Let's all run to dark with just the light that we are finding either on our running journeys or this light that we have in our own lives. The world needs a little bit of it. So thank you for being a part today, and I look forward to spending some time with you the next time. Thanks.
Despite